Hey guys, Mr. Strategy here for a new video, my first video after the Rastakhan Rumble expansion. Now, I'm sorry I'm not going to be filming with any music today, no game music, because there's a little problem with my microphone, so I suggest you put the volume on as loud as possible, as to be able to hear me as clearly as possible. Really sorry for the inconvenience, but I can't do it otherwise. Anyway, what we're going to see is a wild deck today. Now, you might be a bit surprised that my first video after a new expansion would be a wild deck that I'm going to present. Well, to a certain degree, you're right. I probably should be doing a standard deck, but there are so many YouTubers already doing standard deck videos out there, and I was just very excited about this one deck that I'm going to show today. Now, it's not going to come as a surprise, and it might even annoy you, but it's another even handlock, even warlock video. Except this time is going to be even warlock in wild, and well, I've noticed, because I don't play this deck in wild for a long time, I've noticed it's actually a lot stronger in wild, proportionally. The opposition is a lot stronger as well, of course, but the deck in itself is a lot stronger and even far more fun to play when you play it in wild, and I'm going to show you why. Now you might notice I've written aggro in the title. That's because I've actually got two forms of even warlock wild decks. One of them is a more restrained deck, which uses Blood Reaver Gul'dan the Death Knight, and also a copy of Demonic Project to counter combo decks. So the other one is basically a deck which is very aggressive, but a little bit more apt to battle other decks in the late game as well. Now this deck is the one I consider the strongest, is the aggro version, because it doesn't have Blood Reaver Gul'dan, and it also doesn't have the Demonic Project. I switched them out for another Wrathguard and a Dark Bomb. Those are two card differences between the two decks. Now let me explain. In this deck, just as in any even Warlock deck, the strategy is to fill your hand as much as possible, to draw as many cards as possible with your upgraded hero power, which only costs 1, and at the same time, to let your cards and your hero power slowly take your life total down, so you are able to hit back with stronger amethyst spellstones, stronger hooked reavers, and cheaper molten giants. So let's see. In this deck we have 4 very big minions. Those 4 very big minions are molten giants, 2 of them, and mountain giants, 2 of them as well. 2 8 8 minions. Now, molten giants you generally won't be able to play very fast yet, because they're very big. And I mean, in matters of cost, they're very big. They cost 20, and you have to take basically 10 damage to make them payable for 10. But of course, you don't want to play them for 10, so you have to take at least 12 to 13 damage to make them legit to play. Now don't worry, with this deck this is perfectly possible, and as a matter of fact very easy, and you'll be able to play your molten giants for a very cheap price, sometimes even for free, at turn 7 or 8 typically already. The other big minions are mountain giants, and those are, just as in standard, are the stars of the deck, because they really feed off this bigger hand condition. So in even handlock you try to fill your hand as much as possible, which thanks to the hero power is very easy, and you can play mountain giants for as cheap as 3 mana when your hand is full. So sometimes when you start with a coin you can play a mountain giant on turn 3, otherwise if you don't start with a coin you can always play a mountain giant on turn 4, but even a mountain giant on turn 5 or turn 6 is still very strong. Now those are the only real big minions we have, but we have ways to generate even more big minions with this deck. And we do that with faceless shamblers, mostly. Faceless shamblers are great because they can copy a friendly minion's attack and health, and they have taunt as an extra, which means that if you played, for example, a mountain giant on turn 3, then you can play a faceless shambler on turn 4 and copy the mountain giant attack and health, and so you have two 8/8s on the board on turn 4, which is really powerful. So there are two of them, so typically you should be able to copy the stats of a molten giant or a mountain giant, but, and here I come to the fourth very strong card of this deck, we also have hooked reavers, and hooked reavers benefit from you having low health. If you have 15 or less health, these cards become extremely strong for their cost. They become 7/7s with taunt. And of course, as I already said earlier, this deck is also a very self-inflicting deck, so getting yourself to 15 health or less is actually quite easy. Now, when you have those 7/7 taunts for 4 mana, you can also copy their stats with Faceless Shambler, but of course you'd rather copy a Mountain Giant than a Hooked Reaver, because a Mountain Giant is 8/8 and a Hooked Reaver is 7/7. But in both cases, you'll have some very good value on the board, and you can have lots of very strong minions very quickly. Now, the other cards are mostly defense or infliction. Let me show you. Dark Bomb is pure defense. It's a very good card to take out some annoying minions which cost 3 or 4 mana. Defile is of course the strongest, I would dare to call it the strongest defensive Warlock card in the whole game. You can take out whole boards of small minions with just this one 2-cost card. It's really great against any small minion aggro decks. Spirit Bomb. Now this is basically like the Dark Bomb, except it deals 1 more damage, but as a special extra it deals 4 damage to your own hero, which is great because not only does it allow your spellstones to be buffed, but it also gets you closer to those 15 health which you need for your Hooked Reaver, and it also decreases the cost of your Molten Giants in your hand by 4. Sun Fury Protectors, well, they're great because your life total is going to be very low during most of the game typically, because that's how you want it to be. And the Sun Fury Protectors allow your big minions to have taunt, so your opponent doesn't hit face quite as easily. Vulgar Ranunculuses, good taunt minions to protect yourself, plus the 2 damage, which is also great for Spellstones, Hooked Reaver, and Molten Giant. Wrathguard, now these cards are really great. They work really well with this deck. Not only do they have great stats for a 2 costs, and they have more attack than they have health, so they're also very aggressive cards. When you play one on turn 2, it can sometimes already take 8 health off the opponent's hero in 2 turns time. But also, whenever they take damage, and they normally shouldn't take too much damage for them to be dangerous, but they will take quite a beating normally after you play them. So whenever they take damage, this amount of damage is going to be dealt to your hero as well, which is of course going to be great for your Molten Giants, your Spellstones, and your Hooked Reavers as well. So I'll keep repeating it. It's basically this circle of self-infliction, all these self-inflicting cards, which actually pay off in the long run. And this card has great stats as well, so it's a great card. I've already talked about Faceless Shambler, which is great for copying big minion stats. Hellfire, of course, also a very great defensive card to clear boards with smaller minions and also self-inflicting. I've already talked about Hooked Reaver. Lesser Amethyst Spellstone, which is great to get your life total a bit higher once your efforts have paid off and you've put some big minions on the board, but you're a bit worried about your life total, then you will typically have some very buffed Amethyst Spellstones, which you will be able to heal yourself with and take out big enemy minions at the same time, so win-win for you. Shadow Flame, also a great defensive card, especially since you'll have lots of 8/8 minions on the board typically, or at least 7/7s. What I'm trying to say, big minions is what you're going to have on the board. and you'll be able to destroy big minions. Well, one big minion, because you only have one Shadow Flame, and it will deal the attack damage of that minion to all enemy minions. So you can have a board of 8 8s facing you, 7 Ace 8s in front of you, and only have one Mountain Giant on your own board, while you can clear the whole board with just one Shadow Flame. Not that that's going to happen, of course, but, well, you know the idea. It's a great defensive card, especially against big priests. Shroom Brewer is also there to save you if you really got too reckless on your life total. Because, well, of course, sometimes against burn mages or once or kill priests, this can become dangerous. But you might also want to have them to heal some mountain giants or some molten giants which have been damaged during the course of the fight. Now, Spellbreaker is actually used mostly for aggressive purposes, so you can silence taunt minions. I'm thinking about Voidlord mostly, but also about, for example, Rin the First Disciple or Rotten Applebaum, that kind of annoying taunt minions. Well, those you'll be able to silence and keep on hitting face regularly. Now, Twilight Drake is also a very typical even handlock card, which feeds off the hand size. So you want to play them when you've got lots of cards in your hand, and they can get to 10 health maximum. So typically you'll be playing 4/8, 4/9, or 4/10 Twilight Drakes, which are of course great cards for 4 mana. Again, Greymane is only there for the upgraded, discounted hero power, which is great. And I've also decided to add Skulking Geist, although many decks don't run this because it's a bit slow. But I think they're important because they can be great against Druid decks which run Naturalize, which is actually a very big threat to our big minions, and Spellstones. And it's also great when you're playing against Jade Druid decks because they don't have their Jade Idols anymore once you play them. Now, that was it for this version of the deck. I'm going to show you the other version as well, but I must warn you, I didn't get as good results with the other version as with this one because well, it's a bit slower and therefore it often doesn't work out quite as well. But it's also worth a try, and if you're not really that kind of really aggressive player, but you still want to play even Warlock, well then I'd recommend the Restrained version of the deck, which I'm going to show you right now. So this is the Restrained version of the deck with actually only 2 cards difference, a Demonic Project instead of a Dark Bomb, so you want to be able to counter combo decks more easily by transforming their combo pieces into demons, and Blood Reaver Gul'dan instead of one of the Wrath Guards. So Blood Reaver Gul'dan is basically great in late game, and with this deck you will be able to play better in any late game situation, but without the extra Wrath Guard, it just lacks, in my opinion, the aggressive beginning you need to win quick games with the aggro version. So have a good look at it. You could also use this one, but in this video I'm only going to play with the aggro version.
Mecha Jaraxxus versus Mecha Jaraxxus!
You face Mecha Jaraxxus! Ditto, fool!
Okay, first battle, we're playing another Warlock. Now, we have a relatively good hand here. So we're definitely keeping Mountain Giant. Spirit Bomb is good for defense, and Faceless Shambler to copy the Mountain Giant's stats. I'm going to get rid of the Hooked Reaver because I would like some removal, because many Warlocks play Zoo Warlock, and in those cases they're even faster than you, so you need the removal, which I just got here.
We have turned our curse into our strength.
Okay, we also have a Molten Giant, whose costs are actually going to try and lower over the course of the game. Well, typically when you play even Warlock. I don't know if you saw my other videos on standard even Warlock yet. That's not dangerous at all. I don't know why you played that. We typically want to draw during the first 2 turns, even if we have 2 cost minions to play, so we are able to play multiple turns quicker, especially if we already have it in our hand as we do now. And so turn 3, and we have turn, and I know Warlocks often have a hard time getting rid of him. Now he played this card, which makes me suppose he's some kind of aggro, but after seeing this one, the Void Caller, I think is the most popular wild Warlock deck, which is to say the Reno Lock. So he'll be able to heal himself to full health at some point because he plays Reno Jackson. Okay, so now we have 2 agents. Just to go face as much as possible, because that's the point of this deck. We just want to win as quickly as possible with big minions. Okay, now he's going to have a... His Void Caller is not dead yet, so we could silence it, and I think that's actually a pretty good idea. We should probably also draw, although, wait, no, it's not possible to draw now, so I think I'm just going to silence it.
Must destroy!
And then maybe coin, yes, we're
Your
going to
magic
silence it.
shall not save you.
We're going to use our coins, since I really want these homunculus. Once you already have 1 mountain giant on the board, it's okay to use your coin giant.
Why do you call? Total corruption?
Total power!
Okay. Right. Now I should use my Spirit Bomb to kill his Void Walker. Then I still have 4 mana left, with which well, I guess I could play Twilight Drake. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to play Twilight Drake. That's an 8. Danger, I don't think we are, so I think we can just keep on playing. That's 2 cards in his hand, we have 3 now, so he shouldn't be all too dangerous. The demonic projects are really not all that annoying at all. I think they're just as annoying for him as now we're going to do more damage. We can't... I don't find 2 damage in my hand right now. I mean, this guy could give my Drake +1 attack, but that would only be +1 attack. So what am I going to play? I could have a buffed reaver now, which is always good to play.
Must
I feel like I
destroy.
So I'm going to draw first. Okay, Raptor. Drawing also decreases the cost of my molten giant. I could play Vulgar to have a 1-cost molten giant, but
Computing.
would get a little bit dangerous for me if I did that. So I think I'm going to Defile, kill his how's that called? Kill his Despicable
Run down.
and now he's basically lost with only 2 cards in his hand. I don't see how he's going to save himself, even if he wants.
But your world is still doomed.
So you see, that was a quick game. That's the thing you can expect with this deck, because it's really very aggressive and you get lots of value onto the board, typically as quickly as possible. Sometimes it will happen that you get worse hands, and then you'll have a tougher time because you won't be able to get very aggressive all that quickly. but most of the time you should try to get at least one of the 8/8s into your hand, especially the mountain giants, as quickly as possible.
Mecha Jaraxxus versus Valera.
Watch your step.
You face Mecha-Jaraxxus!
Right, rogue probably means Kingsbane or some aggro rogue thing. So I would like some of my 8/8s, so I'm throwing out the Shroom Brewers in the hope of getting some, or at least some removal. Okay, we have a mountain giant, that means we have a good hand. Now
We have turned our curse into our strength.
We're great. So, draw, as usual. Okay, Dark Bomb's going to be great for defense.
Job done.
We're going to play a Wrathguard probably, followed by a Mountain Giant. We'll see what she plays, or he. I mean, I say she because the hero's female. Okay, Stolen Steel, so she gets a weapon. I don't really know what she or he is playing yet. Okay, so we keep on drawing, and
Regret this.
Welcome to my web.
I see what it is. It's one of those rogue decks which likes to draw lots of cards and likes to draw lots of cards. Basically, it's more of a slower deck actually, so I think it's a good matchup for us. I haven't really played any of those yet. Then again, I haven't played. Okay, seems like we're going to get another 8/8 next turn. Indeed. Now, watch out, we can't draw now. That's always something you have to watch out for. Because if we start lingering here, we'll eventually lose. So we're pretty much forced to go face, but that doesn't bother us because it's the point of the deck. So yeah, Academic Espionage and big decks for our opponent, who's going to try and draw as many cards as possible and get value. Problem is, she's only going to get that value after a couple of turns, while we already have it now. I could play Geist, that would probably get rid of lots of our cards, but I don't think it's actually necessary. I think I'm just going to go for the kill. Now she's already in a critical position. He or she has to defend, and I don't think she's going to manage. I mean, probably not. Oh yes, maybe with Vanish. Yes, she's probably going to try Vanish. Oh, she's not. That secret's probably the neighboring minion, but oh wait, no, maybe it's a secret that makes you immune, which would mean she can survive another turn. If it's the immune secret, it'd be annoying, but we'd probably win against the immune secret. There you go, another quickly won game. Really all or nothing with this deck. I really like it because it's more often all than nothing.
Mecha Jaraxxus versus Rexar.
Let the hunt begin. You face Mecha-Jaraxxus!
Okay, very happy. mountain giant in my hand. Of course, I'm keeping the shambler as well. And I think I can let go of the spellstone right now because there's no self-inflict for the moment, so it won't be buffed too soon. But dark bomb is great for defense. So and we get a spirit bomb, so we're pretty much good for defense.
We have turned our curse into our strength.
Okay, that doesn't bother us, of course. We want our health to be as low as possible. And we're going to be able to play a mountain giant next turn. Now, yeah, secret hunter. Secrets are not very pleasant because they might send our mountain giant back to our freezing trap. I hope it's not a freezing trap, but well, there probably is a freezing trap out of those 3 secrets.
Astounding!
Yes, astounding indeed. Now, if I were to send my giant back to my hand, it'd die because my hand is full. So I'm first going to play the shambler to have it, then send it back to the hand.
You belong to the Bob now.
And just as I expected. But we're still going to be able to play him next turn for 5. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, now he's going to be able to kill our shambler. Well, at least we got rid of his secrets. That's something. Okay. So we're going to play our giant back in. And we're soon going to be able to play our molten giant. Oh, he's going to discover a freezing trap, I'm afraid. Freezing traps are really the worst against this deck. Yeah, there's probably a freezing trap. Well, I think I should play Dark Bomb with the Molten Giant. Yeah, that should be good. So I'm going to play the Dark Bomb first. Send my Giant back to my hand. Okay. And the 8/8s just keep coming. Though we haven't actually dealt any damage to him yet, so it's going to be hard, this game. We'll give our big minions taunt. Maybe we burn the spellstone though, because we might have been, but okay, right now I'm happy. I can get another mountain giant. First, of course, I would like to attack. Yeah, we're going to heal our hero, because else we'd die. Now, we have a good board, but our life total is a bit critical, so we might still lose. Okay, we do still lose, it's a fact.
Well played! Well played.
Okay, so a bit of a disappointing last battle. I guess freezing traps will be our worst enemies with this deck, but then again, no deck can be strong against all other decks, otherwise it'd be a meta-breaking deck. Now you might realize I've played my games in this video at a rather low rank, so you might think it's not worth the try, but I can assure you this deck is has been played by many legend players, and it will certainly be useful in any rank, as long as you get the right hand and that you play aggressively enough. So that was it for today. I would thank you all for watching, and see you next time in maybe 2 weeks or something for a standard deck video. I don't know which one yet personally, but I'll try to make a good one. Goodbye!